You are now listening to CTR Media Network.
What up, family? CTR Media Network. Yeah. Best in the biz. Yeah. Join the team. CTR is who we are, the media network, that's the best by far. Whether you listen at your home, at your job, in your car, come get the information that's needed above all, never lasting. Motivational podcasting, giving you the answers to the questions that you're asking. Serious talks and topics, how to come up and profit, how to better yourself, your health, and see if we
The podcast on CTR Media Network.
That's me. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks to her, my podcast is doing great.
350 million, they tuning in. We in 50 different countries, we all can. And like-minded, find your purpose and your assignment. Come get your fix, your feel, your mental alignment. Get active and speak to the masses. Build your influence, all levels and all classes. Now you know you can monetize and grow. CTR Media Network, start the show. CTR Media Network. CTR Media Network. CTR Media Network. CTR Media Network. CTR is who we are. The media network, that's the best by far, you know. CTR Media Network. CTR Media Network.
CTR Media Network is now accepting new podcasters to join our growing network that's reaching 350 million global listeners. Have you heard? CTR Media Network offers podcast production, podcast training, distribution, and product placement. Book us for your next event or schedule an interview with CTR Media Network podcasters today. To learn more, go to CTR Media Network. Our CTR Media Network sponsors. A special thank you to our gold sponsor, Terry Coleman from Global Key Capital. Global Key Capital is a lender specializing in customized financial solutions. They pride themselves in being one of the industry's most reliable and proven lending groups. At Global Key Capital, their customers are their number one priority. They strive to provide their clients with competitive pricing, unbeatable customer service, and stress-free processing. So if you are in the market for your next dream home or investment property, give Terry Coleman a call or simply visit their website at www.globalkeycapital.com. A special shout out to our silver sponsor, Business Course Academy. At Business Course Academy, they provide business education digital courses for its participants with the tools and knowledge needed to compete globally and build generational wealth. Everyone needs a map to reach their business goals today, and they have an exceptional business course creators and coaches on their team with over 30 years of experience ready to help you because they have worked with multi-million-dollar agencies as well as startups. So if you're looking for your next business course, go to businesscourseacademy.com. Thank you for your support. Thank you to our CTR Media Network sponsors. To learn more about our sponsors and CTR Media Network, go to ctrmedianetwork.com.
These days, how people treat themselves, and they don't treat themselves the way that they should, and it comes from these 5 things that I want to talk to you about today. Most people don't love themselves enough. They need to learn to love themselves more. But the question is, how do you love yourself more? Well, the number one thing is that we have to start with forgiveness. How is forgiveness linked with love? It's very important and it's very relevant, because if you can't forgive yourself from the things that you've done in the past or the things that other people have done to you, you can't allow love to filter into yourself and you're not able to accomplish certain goals and able to do certain things. See, we have to forgive ourselves. We have to forgive other people and heal so that we can love ourselves and we can be where we need to be. So forgiveness is the key. And with that forgiveness, it goes into the next point about healing. If you don't forgive yourself, you can't heal. How can you heal from something? It's like years and years of trauma and traumatic things that happened to you and hurt and all of the expectations postponed, the things that you wanted to happen that didn't happen to you, that you think was unfairness. It was unfair. Things that just weren't right that people did to you. So you have to heal and you have to close those wounds so that you can move forward into your next things in your life, so that you can move forward into what you're passionate about, what makes you tick, what makes you thrive. So you have to heal. And it's not an easy road to heal. It's not just something to say, I want to heal and it happens. You have to go through these steps. You got to forgive. You got to let go. You got to let go of resentment. You got to let go of pain, not for other people, for you. And a lot of people don't understand and say, you don't understand. That person hurt me. That person did this. I'm not saying that what they did was wrong. The forgiveness and the healing is for you. In order for you to be able to thrive, you got to let go of worrying about that person. You got to let that, whatever happens, and say, this is what happened to me. But today, I'm okay. Today, I'm better. Today, I know better. Today, I'm going to make better decisions. Today, I am going to protect myself. So we have to learn to heal from the wounds from the past so that we can love ourselves more. See, you can't heal if you don't understand that part. You got to know that you're a loved one. You got to know that you are your first source of love. So many of us, we're looking for love in all the wrong places. You're looking for love in people who don't care to love you. They're showing you that they don't love you. It's like you're expecting something that will never happen, and that's going to bring you more pain and hurt and heartache. See, when you are your first sign of love, when you are your first friend, it's nothing but blossoming and growth and joy going to happen, because you don't have to be around other people. You don't have to have other friends. You don't have to do things with other people. See, when you can love yourself more, you want to be alone. You want to go out and try new things. You want to step outside of the box. You're not afraid to be unique. You're not afraid to stand in your personal truth and accept yourself, flaws and all, for all you have been through and where you are today. So, point number 3, you have to respect yourself. Respect is something that you have to teach other people how to respect you. We train people in life how to treat us. And if we allow people to treat us rudely, we let them do things that we don't like, we don't speak up and say the things that we want, all of this shows up in how we think about ourselves, how much we love ourselves. So speak up. Speak up and say who you are. Speak up and say what you want, what you need, what you deserve, who you are, and say it loud, say it clearly. See, we expect other people, especially the people who know us for a long period of time, we expect for them to know what we want. But you have to tell people, this is what I want, this is who I am, this is what I deserve, and you're going to respect this or you can go. And that goes into the next point, number 4. We have to set boundaries. It's very important when it comes to loving ourselves. We have to set boundaries with other people and ourselves so that people know where they stand with you. If you always fall for everything, you're always going to get nothing. So set your standard. Tell people what you expect, what you like. Don't wait for people to do things to you and then say, I don't like what you did. set up rules, and I need you to call me at this time and no later than this time. I need you to be on time. Whatever it is that is important for you, set those boundaries and tell people, this is what I accept and this is what I no longer am going to accept. See, when you elevate your mind and your heart and you know who you are and you know what you want, there's nothing that is going to stop you. You have to open up your mind and believe that you can have the things that you want. See, that's a part of loving yourself. It's not about where you were, but it's who you are today. Who are you today? You're a wonderful individual. You're a powerful individual. You're somebody who cares about themselves and you know your worth. You know where you're going. You respect yourself. All of that goes in line with loving yourself more. And we have to do more of that. Number 5, we have to learn to do things for ourselves. A lot of people look for other people to do things for them. And then you get upset when they don't do it right. There's nothing like the independence of doing things for yourself and knowing how to do things for yourself. See, people can't use you and push you around because you can do that for yourself. So learn to do things for yourself, like self-love, like going for a walk, like taking a trip, like treating yourself and going out to eat. If you want flowers, buy yourself flowers. Don't wait for other people to give you things. See, that is something that you can do for yourself. If you have somebody in your life that can add to it, that can bless you with more, that's wonderful. But don't expect other people to fulfill you. You have to come to the table full and whole as a man or a woman, full and whole. So do things for yourself. Make yourself happy. We have to stop looking for other people for the justification of who we are. We look and we put too much weight for what other people think about us. Oh, they don't like me. They don't like what I'm doing. They don't believe in my dreams. They don't support me. They don't show up for me like I need them to. See, when you do things for yourself, it doesn't matter if one person shows up, 1,000,000 people, or 0. You're doing it for yourself because you believe in yourself. You believe in your hopes. You believe in your dreams. You know who you are and you know your worth. And this is the 5th and the last point. In order to love yourself more, you have to reaffirm your worth every day. Every day is a new beginning, a new opportunity, a new blessing, a new day to heal, a new day to thrive. So every day you wake up, remind yourself of who you are. Remind yourself of how far you have come. And tell yourself, I love you. I love you for who you are today. I love you for how you have overcome. I love that you are victorious. Every day we have to reaffirm our love for ourselves and not look for it in another person, not look for it in a romantic relationship, not look for it from our brothers and sisters, not look for it from a friend. We have to be our first source of love. So today I'm asking you, love yourself more. Because you deserve to be loved. You are a source of love. You are worthy, capable, and unstoppable. The only thing that can stop you from your goals in your life is you. It's all up to you. And I'll see you guys on the next podcast.
Good evening, and welcome to Series 2 of Dating, Relationships and Christian Dating. I am Constance Woolard, the host of the Speak Easy podcast. And tonight we have a phenomenal group of panelists, some married couples, spiritual partners. Yes, spiritual partners in Christ. We have some relationship strategists. We have another pastor that's going to be joining us later on tonight. And we're all here to have a candid discussion on date, relationships, and Christian dating. And so my first couple is called the Purpose Couple, and they are Elder Brown and Prophetess Alicia Brown of South Carolina. So good evening. How are you?
Thank you. Good evening.
Well, good evening. Good evening.
I want to say thank you, first of all, for agreeing to participate in this discussion. I thank you so much. And just kind of tell the listening audience who you are.
Well, ladies first.
Okay. Well, I am Prophetess Alicia Brown. We together, we are the Purpose Couple. We are the Browns, known as the Purpose Couple. Together as a couple, we work with one another in ministry and also in holistic health as well. We do a lot of things so far as in balancing the mind, body, and spirit, and also in addition to speaking about the purpose of kingdom marriage as well.
Yes. We have a 501c3 nonprofit. We run together. The Carla Rose Foundation is the name of the organization. And we raise money for people that have cancer that are going the alternative holistic route for treatment. A lot of that's not covered by insurance. So we raise money to help with the cost of that, to offset some of the costs. And
Wow.
The foundation is in honor of my mother and our first wife that passed. Carla was my first wife's middle name. Rose was my mother's middle name. So we honor their memory with
Great.
this foundation.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because next month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
That's correct.
And so the podcast next month, we are going to be featuring breast cancer and doing a lot of things to discuss breast cancer awareness. And so I've got several experts lined up. And that's one of the common themes I'm hearing is resources. People are not aware of the resources available. So I thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So much. Thank you. Our next couple are the Ashleys of Dallas, Texas. And so good evening. How are you?
We're doing good.
Doing good.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
And so just tell the audience who you are.
Well, I am Geneva D. Ashley. This is my husband, Marcus Ashley. And we're just, well, most people know us as, affectionately, they call us the A-Team, just because our last name starts with the letter A. But we live here in the Dallas Metroplex region. We do ministry together. We have a ministry called Word Reflections Ministries. It's brand spanking new. God is literally lifting us off the ground with it. So we're working on that. We also, I myself am a published author. Today is my Amazon best-selling day, so I am pushing for sales of that book. I'm a domestic violence advocate as well as a master coach, virtual pastor, and and I work hand in hand with every other thing that my husband and I do together. So
Okay, so just spiritual partners in crime.
yeah,
I would say spiritual partners in Christ. How about that?
right, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a better term. That's a better term.
Marcus Ashley here. My biggest role really is just keeping up with this lady right here for all the different things that she sets out to do. I'm more of a silent partner, but I'm really a huge supporter from behind the scenes. I'm not out in the forefront. It's not really my thing, but from behind the scenes, I'm doing heavy lifting with helping get things done, and she goes out and executes as far as book projects, outreach of different kinds, especially in the spiritual sense. anything that it has to do with the ministry work. I'm one of her biggest supporters from behind the scenes. So a rare appearance for me, and looking forward to engaging with you all.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. And so next I have Anna. Good evening, Anna. How are you?
Good evening, Constance. Thank you so much for having me on today's show and allowing me to share with those beautiful couples that we have here today.
Yes, and so tell the audience who you are.
I am a relationship coach, and I started this career of coaching 9 years ago. And initially, I was working with married couples facing challenges in their relationship, but about almost 6 years ago, I really felt calling to work more closely with married women who are committed to their relationship, but whose husbands do not see an issue in the marriage, or they are not ready to get help from a professional. So I felt a need for just filling this space and giving these women some hope and some tools to help them kind of redesign that marriage and be that loving and gentle force that bring changes to their relationship.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us in the discussion this evening. And so I have Daniel J. Williams of Columbia, South Carolina. Good evening, Daniel. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you? How's everyone?
Great. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad that you asked me to join this panel. Sounds like it's going to be an interesting panel discussion.
Yes. I'm looking forward to the discussion this evening. So tell the audience who you are.
Well, like I said, my name is Daniel J. Williams. I'm here in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm a mindset coach. I'd say that I'm really I like to use the term of being like a intercessor and a communicator. And really, I like to work with everyone, seeing everybody be lifted, but more specifically with men, just because men we have a tendency to kind of feel pushed to the side, that we have a lot to carry and a lot to do, but we don't like to express what bothers us or what we're really feeling. So that kind of hinders relations. I mean, this goes in relationships. It kind of hinders our being able to really contribute to the relationship in the best way forward for it to go. So once men kind of get back to knowing themselves and feeling comfortable with themselves, they can actually really bring the best part of the relationship together.
Okay, thank you. And so I'm going to put this question out on the table. It's for our two married couples. With Daniel, you are married as well. Anna, I'm not sure if you have a spouse or not.
Yeah, look at this. I didn't share that. This is my most important job. Yes, I am a wife and a mother of two super sweet kids.
Okay. And so what I want you to do is, the first question I have on the table: how did you meet your partner? And what place and space were you in when the two of you met? And so I'm going to start with the Ashleys.
Okay, I'll take lead on this question. We actually were living in California when we met. We're originally from California, and we only recently, in the past 4 years, transitioned here to Texas. But we both were commuting into work, and we were catching what's called the BART train, which is like very rapid transit for San Francisco Bay Area into San Francisco to go to work. And we both worked in the city. We crossed paths a couple times. We didn't really speak or anything. We just kind of exchanged looks, and I nodded at her just to say more of a gesture of good morning. But a couple of times that happened. We got on the train, and she tried to sit everywhere but next to me. So she was actually reading a book by T.D. Jakes, God's Leading Lady, and rather than taking any typical approach to having a first conversation with her, what I did was instead, by making that observation about the book she was reading, I went and researched the book to understand where she might be located and why she might be reading that book in particular. And so once I got an understanding of that, I said, okay, well, in my mind, I said, clearly she's got a relationship with the Lord. So that's a good thing. I just needed God to kind of do the rest because she was going to dodge me every chance she got. So when we got on the train one day, she was standing in the middle of the aisle and she was turning in circles looking for every seat to sit in except for next to me. And I just kind of looked out the window and I looked at the seat next to me and I said, I wish you would sit next to me. I mean, it's not like I bite or anything. So this is what I said to myself. And then she came and sat down, but she hurried up and pulled that book out and opened it back up and almost put her face in it. So that's really how that sequence of events went. And then we exchanged numbers by the end of that ride. We talked about the book, and so I got an even better sense of kind of what was her moral compass and where she was located when we crossed paths. And we haven't really looked back since then. We went on a few dinner dates and consecutive, and we've been going ever since. So there it is.
Wow.
From my perspective.
Okay, amazing story.
I tried to go to every other seat because it was amazing, and that's how you know God was in it, because every seat I was stepped to, literally, I remember very distinctly, it was like 5 different seats. So every time I would go to sit there, somebody else would sit in the seat. So it ended up making me turn around and look back over at that seat, which was the only vacant seat available, and it was next to him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Definitely some intervention there, some divine intervention.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. But I got to give it to you, Marcus. You had your game on and you wouldn't research the book and found out about it.
I didn't want to be typical. I didn't want to be different because, there's a lot of ways I could have went, so I just wanted to meet her where she was.
Okay. And it worked. It worked. Yes, indeed. Checkmate. Okay. So the Browns, tell the audience how the two of you met and the place and space you were in when you met.
All right. Well, I'm going to let her start this.
What's with the ladies first stuff tonight?
He started first, so
okay,
we're going to go the opposite way this time.
Okay.
Well, how we met, we actually met as business partners. And the way that happened was in 2015, the Lord gave me a vision to start up a nonprofit called Empower Me. And at the time I was a single mom and I was just like, had no idea how to do anything. And the Lord kind of guided me through. And he was like, well, you don't have a 501c3, so you need to look into getting a fiscal sponsor. And I'm like, what is that? So when I did, in the state of South Carolina, at the time I was living in Sumter, South Carolina. In the state of South Carolina, he was the only fiscal sponsor in the state of South Carolina. And my first instinct was like, it's a male, Lord. I don't want to do that. He got to be already married in order for me to proceed. Like, I don't want to do that. Because at that time, my headspace was, I was done with love. I had already been married twice. I was done with marriage. Didn't want nothing to do with it. I didn't want nothing to do with a male, period. Just me, my children. God was my husband. I was good. So God was like, but you need a fiscal sponsor. And unfortunately, this is the only one. So you have no choice but to reach out. So I did contact him. And I said, okay, Lord, well, if this is you, he's going to answer and I'm going to get this fiscal sponsor. And he did not answer. And I said, okay, Lord, so this is not what I'm supposed to do. As fast as I said that, he called me back. And I was like, oh, my goodness. So I answered and time went on where we were supposed to meet up. He was living in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which is where we reside together now. And he drove down to Sumter and met me at Applebee's because I was like, we're going to meet in an open space. So we met at Applebee's. He came with the contract. I came with all of my things. And we sat down at the table and we prayed. That was that first, like, I was like, wait, he want to pray before we eat. Wait a minute. So he know God. But I was just like, whatever. I done been there, done that. So thereafter, we sat down, we ate. I signed the contract. And after signing the contract, we parted ways. I was excited, ready to start fundraisers and things like that so I can get my own 501c3. As time went on, I would say about a month of me being in the contract, the Lord released the funds for me to get it. So now I no longer need his services. However, by that time, we had then had so many conversations spiritually. He would pour into me, I would pour into him. We had them night talks and things of that nature. So it was like, he cool as a friend.
She forget about the game part.
Oh, we was at the restaurant.
We was at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And she told me she had children. So I said, well, I think it was a weekend coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I offered to buy her kids food for the weekend from the restaurant so she wouldn't have to cook. So that was my game, bro.
And
you had a better one, but I had to take that opportunity, and that kind of broke the ice. I would say that broke the ice because that was just something trying to be considerate, not necessarily knowing if it was going to work or do anything, but it did break a little bit of the ice.
It did. And for me, I did call my mom, and I was like, Ma, I said, I think this guy just tried to hit on me. I said, because he just bought me and my children, and I have 3. And I'm like, for the whole weekend, that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm like, that's, and I'm like, he just bought us food for the whole weekend where I don't have to cook. And I was like, I think he tried to hit on me. And I was just like, well, it's not about to happen. And I could tell that he was older than me. And I was like, this guy is crazy. And I was like, I don't even know why he did that. So, it took some time. It really did.
Yeah, she's modest. She was super prepared at that meeting, very organized to the point where I was like, well, you really don't need my services. The only thing you were lacking was the actual 501c3. But she had everything business-wise she had on cap. So it was a real nice lunch. It was a real nice meeting, getting to know her and her organization and how organized she was and how prepared she was. That spoke to me. At a time in my life where I had lost my first wife, it had been some years, like 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So not really doing any dating, but the conversation we were having on the phone about business, and then spiritually, it made it even more special when we met that day.
Wow. And so you two have been together for how long now?
It'll be 5 years in December.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. And so now, Daniel J. Williams, walk us through when you met your partner and what was going on.
Man, it's going to seem funny. I actually met her in church. We were attending the same church, but we probably only said 12 words to each other in like a matter of a year and a half, until there was like a revival one night, and the prophetess she was going through, and she came over to me and she just kept saying faithful over and over and over. And later she told her that her husband was in here, and we were looking around. There wasn't a lot of people in there, so it was like the choices were very slim on who we could have been matched up with. So I was doing like on the Saturdays, I did a fitness program for the members, and she was, she came through, and I took them through a real thorough fitness regimen. And she was so sore, and we had a conversation. We DM, and then we talked, and she was talking about how sore she was and so on. And we went out to have a lunch. We just kept conversations going. And she was divorced. I was divorced, and our stories were like the opposite of each other. Because in my first marriage, I was terrible. I wasn't even a husband, and she got the other side of it. So, you know, and in our talking in the beginning, told her all of the things that I did and what I was like and whatnot, and how Lord, you know, as I recommitted to the Lord, how like I've said that, you know what, I don't even want to bother with a relationship. I don't want to date or anything unless you actually bringing me a wife. But I didn't really believe he would allow me to have that again. And she was like kind of praying along the same thing. We were praying for the same type of stuff. And we've been married for a year now. It's where we met. That was like 3 years ago. We've been married a year now, but it seems like we've been together for so long.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. And so, Anna, tell us about you and your spouse.
You know, I feel a lot of resistance sharing this after listening to these inspirational stories, because the way we met, I would say, is not very typical for Christian people to meet. So bear with me. I guess that just simply means that our Lord does not discriminate against places like bars and clubs, because this is exactly where I met my husband. So it was, oh my goodness, we are married for 17 years. So it was about 20 years ago when I went actually to the bar only because my roommate asked me to be her designated driver. She was celebrating a nice work promotion and asked me if I can go there to drive the place. And, you know, I went there to kind of keep her company. And meanwhile, I've noticed my present husband with some lady sitting over there as well. And then it happened that on the way back from the restroom, this lady who was with my husband approached me, and we started a small talk. Turns out that this is his sister. And my husband back then did not have the courage to approach me. So she started that little conversation and he joined us. And, you know, he was such a gentleman. Like, really, I would say, wow, this is surprising for a place like this to meet someone so kind and so polite, just such a true gentleman, that we just have a very good conversation, the three of us, and then my you know, girlfriend joined us too, the four of us. That at the end of this evening, he asked me for my phone number, and I did agree to give him my phone number. And then he called back, and you know, and I told him, obviously, yes, I'm in Texas, but that accent is clearly not Texan, so I am originally from Poland. And you know, I told him about my country of origin. And for our first date, we went to dinner, and he was so prepared. This just really made me, I think, fell in love with him, like that first date, because, you know, originally he really wasn't my type, but he was just such a kind man that I thought it's just nice person to have in your life. But then for this first date, before that date, he told me that later he went to Barnes and Nobles and researched everything about Poland. He knew so much about our culture, our customs, geography, politics, that I felt so impressed. And again, he just impressed me with his, you know, like behavior and way of being, that after that evening, I remember calling that roommate who I drove to that bar the night we met, telling her, oh my gosh, I really like that guy. So yeah, that's our story.
So we're talking about dating. What guidance or advice do you have for young people, middle-aged people, older single people who are seeking to date or who are currently dating right now? What advice or guidance do you have for them? And I will start with the Browns.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'm handed over to him now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
put
what I'm
his
his
court
turn
this
now.
time. So instead of ladies
You know, we were
first.
distracted.
The gentleman, what advice would you give?
What advice?
Mm-hmm.
well. A lot of it is cliche, like be yourself and be open, be transparent. But I guess you have to definitely, you got to find a way to open the line of communication. Listen as well as speak. Don't try to dominate the conversation, and because she's going to want to know just as much as you want to know. So be willing to listen and be willing to be open and honest.
Okay. Thank you so much. And the Ashleys, what guidance or advice do you have to offer to people who are dating right now?
People that are dating right now. Well, when I think back, for me, I'm a little, believe it or not, a little reserved, shy. I don't really, as a woman, I think just believing that God will do it, being confident in who you are. I have this quote that I always say, it's my own quote, which is, confidence is quiet, insecurities are loud. One thing that I've learned when I was, in my single state, just focusing on God and really loving him and just letting him be who he is in my life. And I was so busy and focused on doing what he wanted me to do. I even talked to him about the type of man that I wanted. So I literally specifically had a very specific list down to the height of my husband, complexion, type of job. Yes, he had to have a job, not just a job, but a career. Yes. It was important to me. And so really dating a lot, I didn't do. I wasn't putting myself out there, even though my family would say, Geneva, you got to be seen if you expect to be found. So I would find myself just, maybe dating myself. That's what I did. I started dating me a lot. And when I was out, then I was seen. And if it was, the right one, then he would have the boldness and the courage to, approach me. And if he didn't, he would find a way. He would find a way to. So I say to anyone that's in waiting right now, it may seem like it's taken a long time, but I would rather wait on the right one than to give the right thing to the wrong one. So my advice would be, give God first seat in your life and everything else will fall into place. I know some girlfriends of mine, they kind of go on the dating apps and stuff like that, but and no knock on that, but I feel like that's kind of like trying to help God out. And it might be somebody on the dating app that might be also seeking, but if that's the way that you come together, ultimately God is going to be the one that brings you together anyway. So that was what I would say from a woman's perspective. What would you say, Mr. Ashley?
Well, I could only speak from my own journey. I can't really say for everyone else, but looking back on the way that we kind of came together, it was being patient and not really looking for anything in particular, not even really looking, just kind of like, kind of as you said, staying to yourself and, just developing in your own relationship with God and, whatever endeavors you're setting out to do, just really being focused on, your own personal goals. And then just kind of waiting on God to put someone in your path that you find commonality with, because that's super important. A lot of times we like what we see, but the question is that, are we compatible? And the other question is, do we have similar beliefs? Do we look at things the same? Those are all important questions. There's so many things that we've talked about in private where it's like, man, it would have been like nice if someone had told us that before we got on this path, but there's no manual or anything out there like that really prepare you for a journey such as, pursuing a relationship, especially marriage, with someone. Those are kind of things those are hidden gems that you uncover along the way while you're on that journey. And one thing that we've learned to this date is with every passing year, level of communication. Communication is huge. it's one of those things that you don't realize it in the beginning, but as you get further and further up the road and get some years behind you in marriage, you learn that there are new depths all the time, even in the ways that you communicate. You thought you were communicating on a deep level before, only to find out that you can go deeper than that. And so that's one of the things that has kind of like revealed itself over time. So those are things that you don't necessarily, understand in your younger years of dating phases and things and those can be some shallow experiences if we're all being honest. Those can be some very shallow experiences. But once you get married, then you start unearthing some things that you didn't know were even there. So that's me speaking in hindsight, looking back from when I was younger up to now, just kind of sharing some of the things that have been revealed along the way.
Okay, wow, thank you. Last week we had a similar discussion. Communication was one of the things we talked about. Making sure that both people involved are on the same page, because the female may be feeling one way, the male may feel a totally different way. And then that's when the miscommunication begins and the breakdown in the relationship. So it's important that both parties are on the same page and that communication is taking place. Effective communication, effective listening. And so welcome, relationship strategist Siobhan. How are you? Siobhan, can you hear us?
Can now. It cut out for a second.
Okay. Hi. So kind of tell the listening audience who you are.
Okay. My name is Siobhan, the relationship strategist. And so I empower Christian couples in committed relationships to strengthen their partnership and eliminate unhealthy behaviors through effective communication. Also an author and a speaker. And yeah, that's basically it.
Well, thank you for joining in the discussion tonight. We have Pastor Robert Cockfield of San Antonio, Texas. Pastor Cockfield, how are you?
Doing great.
Okay, kind of tell the audience who you are.
My name is Dr. Robert Cockfield, and I'm a community activist, a pastor. Just been doing this stuff for a long time as far as loving God and people, just community work. And I have 4 beautiful children, and just currently am just processing a divorce after 41 years.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm sure you have a lot to share. Looking
Sure
back
do.
in time, a lot to share. Thank you so much for joining us. And Tracy Carr, how are you?
I'm great. How's everyone doing?
Doing great. Glad to have you to join us. Tell the listening audience who you are.
My name is Tracy Carr. I am a entrepreneur. I am a woman of God, a woman of faith, and I believe that when it comes to relationships, I believe that God has called me to help people only because of my story of being divorced and dealing with matters of the heart. So that's who I am.
Okay, well, welcome, Tracy, and thank you so much for agreeing to engage in this discussion tonight. And so we've been talking about some recommendations for dating couples or people who are seeking to date. And we talked about understanding and communication. Respect is also important as well. But I want to ask for my 2 married couples, what is the glue? All my married couples, what is the glue that held you together? And I'll start with the Browns. And Elder Brown, it's your turn this time. Don't look at Alicia.
I started the last one. Communication is our glue, and Jesus is our glue, because we stay connected that way. We constantly communicate with each other, praying together, getting the kids involved in prayer, just staying connected spiritually. That seems to be it. That's our glue. Getting up, praying in the morning, that opens up a lot. And that leads to our communication all day sometimes, in the car, with the children. After the children go to sleep, we're constantly in the word. And we use the word to get at each other. So all the time.
We definitely do. And I think for us too, the glue for us, I would say also is we both came to a realization that we weren't each other's preference, but we were each other's purpose.
Okay.
And
like
in doing so, it was like we both made up in our mind which would we rather have. Do we want preference or do we want purpose? And we both just thought about it. Each time that we've chosen preference, how far has it gotten us? And it got us nowhere. But when we both made the decision that, you know what, I'm going to choose purpose, that's what keeps us in sync as well, because not only do we speak each other's love language, but we also speak the language of each other's purpose. So that's what keeps us where he's speaking life over me and I'm speaking life over him, because we understand each other's purpose language and also our love language. So like we have a book coming out that we're writing together called Kingdom Marriage and Its Purpose, Pillow Talk. And it's pretty much teaching the principles of pillow talk. Pillow talk ain't sexual. It doesn't mean it has to be in the bed with some actual pillows. It's teaching communication, and pillow talk is really can happen anywhere. Like you said, when we're driving in a car, we're having pillow talk. When we're at home, we're in the kitchen cooking dinner for the children, we're having pillow talk. And that's just me speaking what God revelation that I received today through my day, and him speaking his revelation. And we come together and bring our revelations together, which makes like our relationship so much more intimate, and it continues to add fuel to our fire. So although we're about to be out of newlyweds, we still feel like we just got married yesterday.
All right, now come on with it. Come on with it. And so David J. Williams, tell me about your glue.
Friendship. I'd say it would be friendship, and of course communication, because in that friendship, we have in that communication, it's a mutual thing. We're both headed in the same direction. When we were first, before we got married, we had our individual thing, but they seemed to line up and be going in the same direction, which really was an indication that it was from God and it was meant to be. But just the fact of having a friendship that we just got along so well, it